Okay, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this series of lectures regarding the Tableau Business Intelligence tool. As you can see the interface that I've already shared here. So the version of Tableau that we are using right now is this one. So let's go ahead and connect to the data. So as you can see that Tableau provides you to connect to a lot of different sources, which are all the state-of-the-art sources of SQL and NoSQL databases, and also other types of sources for importing the data and analyzing that, including big data, streaming data, real-time data, or even batch data. So right now we are interested in the text file. So I have this data for the supply chain. So I already cleaned that through Python, and therefore I'm just going to import this file. Now this is sort of a transformation stage here. Before we go to the worksheet and start working, so we can do many things here. The first thing to realize is this live connection. So in this case, Tableau connects directly to my CSV file, which is on my laptop hard disk. It's written here, the speed of your data source will determine the performance. So in this case, as it's a direct connection to the hard disk, so the speed is pretty fast. But if I change it to the extract phase, so then in this case, the data is going to be imported first into the Tableau's data engine. But we currently don't have that requirement. Okay. So we'll go with a live connection because the data is not that much to create any problems for us that or to convince us to put the data in Tableau's engine. So if there's a requirement, then we can do that. But currently we'll just go with the live connection. At this point of time, I can add the filters to the data. For example, if I press on add here, so it's showing me all the columns for regarding my data which I've imported, and I can I can click on any of these. For example, I can click on dosage form, and the dosage form values are here. So I can just click on here on any of these preferred values, and it's going to create a filter for that particular value. So if I just do this, so if I press on OK, so now it's going to show me only the values with respect to this filter. So currently I will delete it because I don't want that filter right at this point of time. Besides this, we have this icon here in which I can change the data types for any of the columns of my data set. So Tableau basically provides me 3 or 4 default data types. One is the number, which is represented by this hash sign. ABC means obviously a string value. This globe means it's a geographical coordinate. It's a geographical attribute, in fact. And this sign obviously means that it's a date. So Tableau has been automatically configured to detect the dates. If it cannot detect, then we have to convert it ourselves by doing some sort of wrangling to that particular column. That's the thing. It's also possible for me to change the column names. So I'll just clean them up a bit so that they look good on the BI charts. So for example, here you can see that I have cleaned up the column names. So in this, our method is to just remove the white spaces between the between the words of the column name, because it becomes difficult to read then on the BI charts. And we can also create abbreviations like SCH stands for scheduled, and DLBRY stands for obviously delivery. And we can do other things just to make sure that everything is readable and understandable on the BI chart. So another thing we can do here is that we can see the values in a particular column by clicking on this describe function. So you can see here that the managed by column contains only one value. So we can choose to simply hide this column because we are not going to use this in our analysis. And we have in fact one more column, which is the first line designation, in which you can see that we just have one value. So we can assume that all the charts that we make are in fact have the first line designation, and they're all from the same, they are managed by the same office. So we can just hide both of these columns. I can also remove this ID column because that's sort of an identifier. So I can simply choose to hide it. And one more problem that we have here is that we have these two dates where the purchase requisition was sent to the client and the purchase order was sent to the vendor from the client. So, but we got these some string values here along with the dates. So you can see we have the dates here, but we also have some string values that we can see when we sort the data. So that's why Tableau has not been able to detect the dates. So we'll leave these columns as it is for the time being, and we'll probably deal with them later on. I'll wrangle them later on. So another thing we can do is that we can create an alias to rename some of the column values. For example, if I click on here, it shows me basically all the values in this column, and I got this pre-PQ process. So if I want to rename this value, so I can simply say just make it something more readable and a brief. So I can say pre-PQ, and I will click on OK, and it's going to replace all the values here. So that's, we can create the alias, and it's like showing the alias right now. It's going to use that. If I want to see the hidden fields, I can click here, and it's going to show me the hidden fields. Also, the number of rows that I want to display in this initial view, I can change from this tab. So another functionality that we can demonstrate here is the create group function. For example, we talked about the fact that we want to clean this column because we can't put that as a date, as there are many rows which have these string values as well. And these string values are considerable in number. I think more than 50% of the rows have these string values, so we can't delete them. So what we can do is that we can create a group. We can create a separate column in which all of these values can be converted to strings. So this one way of doing it. So what I can do is that I can, for example, search for all the dates, because the dates I guess start from 2009. And I can find all the rows which start with 2009, and I can just group them and call it 2009. Okay, and I can, just click on apply. Okay, so what's going to happen is that it's going to create a separate group variable, and in this group variable, what you can see here is that sometimes you can see this group 2009 which has been created. So all the dates in which I had the year as 2009 have been replaced by these numbers. So what we can do is that we can do the same for all the years 2010, 11, 12, 13, and 14 and 15, and we can let this variable as it is. So in that way, we can create a separate categorical column for this date, which we can analyze very easily in business intelligence functionality of Tableau. So for example, you can see here is that I opened this group interface once. So I deleted that column which you saw previously towards the end of the sheet. I just started the process afresh. I opened this the first time. I renamed the field, and then I created groups for all of these dates. So these groups have been created, and all the dates are within these groups. And for this, this is just a pre-PQ process, so we can let it remain as it is. Now, you don't need to apply. You only need to apply when you have created all these groups and renamed them. So I can click on apply now, and I can click on OK. And when I come here, so you can see that now we have all these dates in their respective. You can see pre-PQ process is occurring in lots of rows, but besides that, we have the dates now. So we can, so it's pretty easy to now analyze this variable, and we can apply the same concept to this attribute as well, because it has this categorical value. So we can apply the same concept here as well. So for example, you can see here that we have grouped all of these variables together. So I renamed it to this more reasonable name. So we have groups, and now when I click on apply, so now I have these two basically group columns, and they contain all these values in this format. So it's very easy for me now to determine, and even this NA from RDC is synchronous with this pre-PQ process. So they represent probably the same type of distribution dynamics. And besides that, I can simply compare the, so we also have these here. So because, so I can compare the vendor date for the purchase order and also the client date for the purchase acquisition. I can at least compare them, that did they happen in the same year or not. So if there's discrepancy in the year, we can talk about that, but the chances are really less, because typically the purchase order is sent a few days after the purchase acquisition is made. So it's just for analysis purposes. And we can also see that the purchase order date also includes 2007 and 2008, something which has not happened here. So these can be, when we have the background knowledge of these things, so we can analyze now very quickly. So this is just one way of dealing with the problem, because we don't want to lose any information. We don't want to delete any rows. So I can now hide these columns and then analyze only those columns which are there. So I can go ahead and simply hide these columns. I can also unhide them later on if I want, but currently I just don't need them. Yeah. So another functionality we can demonstrate here is the split one. So let's say we want to split this manufacturing side, which is creating lots of confusion. So I can do the normal split, but the normal split is what Tableau thinks is the default behavior. So it splits according to obviously the first separate that we have, but I'm not interested in this. So I can just delete these two variables. So I can go for the custom split. The custom split, I can first split according to comma, because I can see that most of the values have the comma there. So this is pretty good, but I don't want such long names even now. So I'm just looking for the first name. So I can do a custom split again, let's say on the space. I'll just press a space here. So this cleans it up even further, but we still have these things like parentheses and hyphens. So I can do a split again, custom split. So I can just put the parentheses, and I can just do a split again on the hyphens or something like that. That might be part of a name, but let's say I'm not interested in that, even in that. But so now we have something which is pretty clean, and apparently we can't see any, this is something also we can put there as a filter, and this is something which is we can use on the BI chart. Definitely not this variable. So I'm gonna do is that I'm going to delete these variables which I don't want, obviously. Okay, so I can't actually deal with that directly. So it's basically telling me that this field is going to be affected if I delete this. I'm just going to go ahead and simply hide all these columns, because I don't need them. So this is my main. So I'm just, I can just rename this as the, I can just say manufacturing site split or something like that. Or I can just let it remain as, manufacturer site or something like that. Yeah. So it's so now it's pretty easy to understand and see what's happening. Yeah. I also cleaned up these aliases for the dosage form, so you can see that I just made it more clean here. Also, the fact that the molecule type is actually seems a description for the detailed item description. So I'm not going to split this up. This is pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide this column, because I think that currently for our purposes, molecule type is okay. You can see that there's a correlation here. So this is more detailed, and this is the molecule type is the one which is abbreviation that we want. So let's assume that we're not going to put a filter on this one. So we're going to just put a filter on the molecule type. So if I see the aliases here, So there are quite a lot of them. So we can't put them on a BI chart as such. It's a long names. So probably this is going to be a filter column for our case. So I can just go ahead and hide this item description as well. So I just save this. I process the vendor name as well through the split, and just I hided the original vendor column, and this is the new vendor column in which I use the split function. Okay, another thing is that we can create a calculated field. So, but if I want to get an idea of the value of a particular supply chain instance. So for this particular tablet, the line item quantity is 10,000, and the unit measure per pack, in one pack we have 60 of these tablets. So I can to get an idea of the output of this tablet, how healthy is the output or throughput of this tablet. What I can do is that I can create a calculated field in which I can say line item quantity divided by so unit measure per pack, and I can say item health or something like that, or item throughput. You can apply. So I got this. You can see the calculated value is represented by this equal to sign. So instead of measuring analyzing both of these things, I can just analyze the item throughput to understand that which are the items which are being created in more quantity with respect to the number of tablets or the number of the meds that are in one particular box. So for example, for this particular tablet, we can say that the item throughput is around 167. So it's been produced in comparatively more quantities as compared to other one. And probably it has also not that much units per mag. There are not many tablets in one box if this quantity is higher. So we can analyze that instead of analyzing these two columns. So that's also one other thing that we can do here. And after saving it, don't forget to save it. We can also sort, because this is the modified one that we are using. Maybe we can use the data source order A to Z ascending. So the columns will be sorted according to the this data source order. So it's just how we want to see it. So I can just go along ahead with the data source order, but the modifications will remain in place. Okay, the final thing that I want to show here is this use the data interpreter. So it is able to clean, it says it is able to clean the text file workbook, but obviously the level of cleaning that we have done here, I don't think so that's going to happen. So let's see what happens when I click on here. So it probably processes this. So it says review the results. So if I say, if I review the results, so it shows me this Excel file in which it has basically divided my this data into three colors. So one is the color of the column headers, and the dark green is the values, and the light green is the data derived from an Excel merge cell. So primarily what we can see here is that all the values are either green, all the values are green in fact, and the column headers are red. And it has basically told that it is able to detect all the data, but that is already, this is just sort of a cross check that we can say that nothing is out of the ordinary with respect to these things, that data is ignored, data has not been, none of the data has been ignored, none of the data has been excluded. So that means that my data is pretty healthy with respect to these keys. So if our data is coming from a raw data source, then we can probably use this interpreter to clean it. So you can, so I'm sorry, this file was not visible. So now this file is visible. So you see what Tableau has done is that has divided my data into basically two colors, green and red. Red means it's a column header, and green means it's a value. And light green means it's data derived from an Excel merge cell. So as I was telling earlier on, so that means that this data is healthy with respect to these problems that can happen. So maybe I have not put in the column header, maybe there is something which is not detected as a value, maybe there is some problem in a merge cell, maybe Excel, maybe the Tableau ignores some data, maybe it excludes some data from the source. So if there is some data, then all of that will be highlighted here in different colors. Right now, everything is green as far as values are concerned, and all the columns that are red. So I think it's pretty clean, and it's just a small verification that I don't have anything which is extraordinarily wrong with the data. So I can just I either I can go ahead with this, or I can uh, just deselect it to have the original one. So that's the thing. Okay? So thanks very much for watching. This has been the video regarding the data transformation, the data wrangling functions which are provided by Tableau. And just remember that if I change the initial data source, then I can click the refresh here, and that change will be easily reflected here because I'm also going live. So that's one of the other advantages. So if I change anything in the original file and then I click refresh, so that change is going to be reflected here. Okay. Thanks for watching.